Hey, welcome back, everybody. Another episode of Up North Journal. Sitting in the cabin. I'm in North, Danny's South. Ken, you're not by a boat dock. I'm glad I didn't put boat dock on there tonight.
Nope, I'm not by a boat dock tonight.
Well,
Close to one, though. I'm close to one.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully everybody's having a great Memorial Day weekend. And as always, before we get started, we're going to do some quick sharing, and then we'll get on with tonight's show. So we'll see what's going on. Ken's waving frantically over there. He's got a little one with him, so
sorry.
That's okay. This could be a really fun episode tonight, watching you parent.
Well, yeah. He's discovered water balloons and slingshots tonight, so.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were you thinking, man? You weren't.
That's a good question.
Oh, we're going to do some sharing here and get this out of the way.
Very good question.
Oh, crack me up.
There it is. Now we're live.
Okay. Danny, you're fresh from a trip back from up north, man.
It was so beautiful.
Are you wore out?
Yeah. Me and the chainsaw had some fun.
Texas two-step?
Yeah. Just about every step.
That's funny. Okay, come on. I'm wrestling again here tonight with Facebook.
I know it's running slow.
Frank, you can
get my share.
There. I'm on the phone. Okay.
He's on the phone.
Go play.
Go play.
Ken, that look was the look of death.
Yeah. Well, I've told him 5 times to go play.
He is your son.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, my. This is good stuff. Well, don't worry, Ken. If you have to step away, we'll take over.
No, it's all right. We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Oh, it cracked me up, man. Danny, you let me know when you're ready. We'll kick this show off tonight. Oh, my.
That's right.
Good stuff.
Yeah, keeping you guys on your toes, keeping things interesting here on the podcast.
Hey, that's good. You know, it's
we're all right with that.
Let's see who we got in here tonight. If anybody's chimed in yet, we got some people starting to pop in. See what's going on tonight.
Right.
Dan, you close?
Yep. Almost.
All right, I'm gonna let you do our usual thank yous.
Whenever you're ready, you can do that too.
Okay. Well, I'll take care of that. Here we go. All right. Stand by and in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal Podcast, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in Cabin North. Danny is social distancing in Cabin South, and Ken Cicluna is social distancing with a little one tonight in Southern Michigan. So.
Yes, sir.
No, we're going to have some fun. We're going to be talking about a little bit about our turkey season so far, and actually, season ends I think next weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So, before we get started, though, we do want to give a quick shout out to the people who help us, and we want to start off with Hunter's Blend Coffee. Go over to huntersblendcoffee.com. Check out what they've got to offer there, and if you make a purchase, use the UNJ promo code, and you type that in there, and you can save 10% on your order. And another company that we love to share with is Buck Baits, buckbaits.com. Go over there and check them out. And if you use the Up North Journal promo code, you can save 20% on your order over there, buckbaits.com. And another Michigan company, like Buck Baits is Rebel 6 Rubs. We use them all the time. I used them this weekend on our hamburgers and on our baked beans. Love the stuff. And if you go over to rebel6rubs.com and use the promo code NorthJournal, you can save 20% on your order over there. And we recently talked with Slade from Trips for Trade, and if you go to their website, trips4trade.com, if you'd like to share a trip, or swap trips actually, or a vacation of some sort, and do some wheeling and dealing with somebody else, so that way you save yourself a little bit of money, you go over there, your membership, you can save 20% on that if you use the Up North 20 promo code. So you can check that out over there as well. We appreciate you guys going over and helping the people who help us. And as of right now, Danny, it looks like it's just you and I right now, because Big Ken,
just ran.
he's chasing kids right now. So,
all right.
So wait, here he comes.
That's why it's live.
And he's back.
We're good this time. I got it figured out.
Duct tape?
Yep. Duct tape and zip ties.
And a little Velcro doesn't hurt either. Oh my! I tell you what, being a parent sometimes can be challenging. That's all I can say.
Oh boy!
To that.
So you go buy him a slingshot and some water balloons, and you expect this to go smoothly, huh?
Yeah, that was the genius move of the weekend right there. But I couldn't resist. I knew how much I love that stuff, and of course that's all he wants to do now. So.
Also, truth be known, it was for you. It wasn't for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also have a water balloon slingshot. So. Yeah.
Okay. Well, give a couple quick shout outs. Dominic says, "What's up, Ken?"
Oh, that's my good buddy Dom. He was out fishing yesterday, and I have to talk to him and see how he did yesterday out on Pontiac Lake.
All right, maybe he'll post an update here.
Yeah.
Neil Roney out of Colorado, a friend of ours, back from a few days back of podcasting, checking out what we're doing tonight. Hey, Neil, what is going on? And the lovely Kelly DeFaw is tuning in as well, Danny's daughter. So, quick shout out to her as well. So, did all the girls go up with you, Danny? Up to camp?
Nope, just Erica did.
Okay, all right. Just two of you, so all right, good time. Well, I guess what we want to talk about tonight is a little bit about turkey season and where we're at so far, because season's just about wrapped up, per se. At least we've got one more weekend for those of us that can get out here in Michigan. But we want to start, I guess, we'll start with you, Ken.
Yeah.
You're the one that was chasing the wily birds here in southern Michigan, and you had quite an adventure. So, kind of give us a lowdown on how your season ran.
Yeah, it was, with everything going on, I was all over the board. I wasn't sure what I was going to do or how I was going to do it. I was going to go up to Gladwin County to turkey hunt. I was going to do public land down here. I was maybe going to go up with you guys up to your place, tossing around all these ideas. And I ended up getting permission last minute from somebody in Dexter, right in Dexter, and probably shouldn't even have said that, but it was on the outskirts of Dexter, and about a week and a half before the season, and I knew it was good. It was a big farm, and I knew without even seeing a turkey there had to be turkeys there. And sure enough, talking to the landowner, she's like, "Oh yeah, you'll get one first day. Just set up. They roost over here and they fly down here. Blah blah blah." So.
Right.
And I went there blind opening mornings, the first day, April 18th, I believe it was, and just kind of set up. No, I take that back. I did have one mini scouting mission like a couple nights prior, and I seen one, and I just kind of had an idea where they might roost, and with the information she gave me, and I just kind of set up the best way I thought, I could opening morning, and I was probably within a couple 100 yards of the roost. And it was kind of a slow morning. I had watched the top of a tail fan for like an hour. I could just see the top of his tail fan in the same spot for about an hour, just teasing me.
Doesn't that drive you nuts?
Yeah, I know. I kept waiting for him, and I knew he had to be all alone with the hen or something else. And
how far away was he?
Well, when I seen the top of the tail fan, probably a good 200 yards. I could see it with my binoculars. I glassed the field, and I just caught, just the tip of it I caught. And he finally started to work towards me. He was it turns out he had one hen with him, and it was just him and this hen. And the hen was working my way, and I think she saw my decoys and just towed him away like they do a lot. And so he went away with her. So that was the first time I seen Tom that I had seen walk into this block of timber. And a little bit more time went by, about 10 o'clock. I go, I really don't like the way my blind is facing. So I got up, I turned my blind, moved my decoys so I could be facing the other way in the field. And as I was doing that, way off in the distance, I seen another tom sneaking through the woods. He didn't see me, but I seen him. And that was tom number 2 I seen going to that chunk of timber.
Mm-hmm.
And like 10, 15 minutes after that, I don't know if it was the same tom or not, but I seen my third tom in that chunk of timber, because you could see pretty good that time of year far in there. And so
let
like
me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Why weren't you hunting in the timber?
Well, right. Well, that's exactly what I did. I got up. I get antsy. You know, I tried to be patient. I got up, went to my truck, got my ghillie suit. And so I knew, I'm like, well, I know there's for sure 2 toms in that timber, possibly 3. And I knew it was getting to be that time where the hens were going to go on nest and they were going to still be looking. So I got my ghillie suit. And I'm telling you, I walked maybe 150 yards into that timber, set up my decoy, sat down, started doing calls. Man, within 10 minutes, I seen this tom poke his head out. And long story short, I worked this bird for about an hour. He was putting on a show the whole time, strutting, gobbling, answering every call. Finally comes into my decoys at about 50 yards. Starts to walk off, and then I think this is it. It's over. He's going the other way. Well, he kind of starts turning towards me, and the ground was wet. It was a little windy that day. There was a good amount of trees between me and him, and I said, you know what? I'm on this awesome farm that has a lot of birds. Let's have some fun. It's only opening day. Let's do something here. And I would army crawl every time he got behind a tree. And I closed the distance to about 35 yards, and when he poked out of the last tree, I shot him, and that was it. It was really cool.
You army crawled how far?
I went back and looked at it after I shot him, and I think I army crawled a good 25 to 30 yards. Like, he was probably 50, 60 yards away from me.
Okay.
And I closed the distance in half at least, I think.
All right, well, we got a few pictures here we'll throw up while you're chatting about it.
It was really cool.
Nice bird.
Yeah, it was nice. You know, he was a 2-year-old. He had a 9.5-inch beard. The spurs were, I don't know, I think it was like 3/4. You know, he was a 2-year-old, but just the way the whole hunt went down was awesome. I mean, it was really cool. And boy, I hope she lets me hunt there again next year.
Right.
Yeah. So it was awesome.
Here's a picture in the ghillie suit. How hot was it that day?
Well, it wasn't too bad. You know, I think the high was 60 degrees that day. I was actually pretty comfortable in it. And today would have been rough in a ghillie suit. But boy, I tell you what, man, I love those things.
Right. No, it.
Yeah.
You kind of look like Sasquatch there. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
You know, looking at that, you know, it's, you know, light green, dark green, you know, mostly green. There wasn't a lot of green in the woods at that time. Were you worried about that at all, or were you just hoping to, you know, that they just didn't notice it and didn't see you moving?
Yeah, no. Honestly, no, it didn't really cross my mind. I didn't even think of that, to be honest with you. I just know that, you know, it'd break up my outline, you know, covered all my skin really good.
Mm-hmm.
And no, that never crossed my mind, but you know, I had him fooled, and I've actually fooled some deer with that, you know, and it's a fun way to hunt.
You know, when you got up there and you crawled to where you were going to shoot at, did you do any more calling at that point, or were you just like, okay, I'm here now, it's time to unload?
No, it was kill time. You know, I wasn't going to fool around with any calls. At that point, he was going away, and I was doing my best to just close that gap. I mean, I'm telling you, I mean, I called it this. It took me an hour to get him to come from 150 yards to 50 yards. I mean, I really had to work at him. And that's where, you know, I think if my calling skills were to be up to snuff, I probably could have got that bird to work in. And we had a conversation, private conversation right after that. And you kind of gave me a good tip about placing those decoys a little bit differently, you know, so he's kind of, you know, gets him to not, you know, hang up. Because I thought, as he was walking away, I said, that's it. I'm done using decoys on these midday run and gun situations. Because every time in the past where I've used decoys in the middle of the day, I can almost always get a bird to play, to want to play in the middle of the day and work them, and they always hang up on my decoys. And so I'm like, that was going to be the final straw. I'm like, that's it. Tomorrow, no decoys, middle of the day. And I would have did that, but your idea about putting them off to the side and behind me a little bit was a good idea.
That's if they come in the way you want them to.
Right. There's that too. Yeah.
There's always a fly in the ointment, it seems like. But hey, I got one more picture here I want to put up, and this is your little guy posing with the bird, man.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Well, it was probably the best part of the day for me, because when I had brought that bird home, he was in the living room with my wife, and we have a bay window in the front, and he seen me walking across the window with this thing on my back, and he just shot outside because he knew I was turkey hunting. Dad got a turkey, and he wanted to come back and pet that turkey and look at that, and he was really into it, and that really made me happy and gave me some hope that maybe he is going to be into hunting. And I mean, he wanted to look at the head and the feathers, and he kept petting it and asking me questions, and that was the best part of the day for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always those critical times when you've got game, that you've taken or that your kids have actually taken for the first time, and it's that make or break point. It's like, what's going to happen here, because you got a dead animal there, and how are they going to react to it?
Yeah, and he was a little hesitant. When I had the does that I shot last fall hanging in the backyard, he was a little hesitant at first. He wasn't really that into it. And I obviously didn't force the issue on him, but this time with the turkey, I mean, he was all over it. So that was cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I got a picture or a video of my grandson a couple weeks ago, and he's got this little stuffed deer that I got him. And he had a toy Nerf gun. He shot it, and he took it and threw it on his little toy barbecue grill. I was like, I said, just keep doing that, we're okay.
He's got it down already.
Yeah, so
he knows where it goes.
That's right.
Yep.
And my daughter said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm going to eat it. No, that's good, man. Nice bird.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, thank you. It was great. And man, it's always so bittersweet when them turkey hunts are over, because I wish I could have hunt more. And I tell you, if it was any other year, if this pandemic wasn't going on, I hate to even bring that up, but I wish I was seriously considering going to another state this year, in Ohio and Indiana, somewhere, maybe even in Iowa, and I think I'm going to do that next year, because I love chasing them, and I love it, and it's always over. Sometimes, not always, but you know what I mean. Once it's over, it's like anticlimactic. You have this buildup of the scouting and everything, and then boom, it's done.
Yeah, scouting. What's that, Danny? We didn't do any of that this year.
No.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we'll bump up on our first break here. Let's take our first break, and we come back. We'll kind of wrap that up, then we'll kind of lead into what Danny and I got into here in the last couple of weeks. So we're going to take a step outside. We'll be right back after this.
All right. I'm just going to take a step over here real quick, guys. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. For those of you guys on the podcast or on the live stream here, you got any questions or anything? Throw them in the chat.
Any questions? Throw it at us. Dominic, good-looking Tom. Yes, it is. Dan Newmer, nice bird. Very nice bird. Absolutely.
All right, we'll save this one off here. As Ken goes to probably reload the slingshot or water balloon.
Or the water balloon.
Right, something.
Right.
That's good stuff. I remember when my kids were young. It's always challenging when there's something you want to do, and you're trying to get them to settle down and have a little fun off camera or something quietly to where you can get done what you need to get done.
Exactly.
Those days are great to remember, but I'm glad they're over. I put my time in, so to speak.
I just do.
Oh man. Nick Miller. Oh, Killer Miller. Nick Miller is watching from down in Ohio. He was up in Michigan a couple of days ago, and he slammed a bird in southern Michigan. Congrats on that too, man. He said, just like Ken was saying, he couldn't. He just couldn't give up, the season. He had to have one more go-round of it, so he came to Michigan.
Nice.
So
excellent.
Well, I tell you what, Ken is he's still MIA. You want to just go ahead and roll here?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. I tell you what, we'll just use double box here, and we'll move along. When he pops in, we'll bring his mic up and we'll carry on. So here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Second segment of the show. And as I speak of the devil, here he comes. He's back.
Back. Timing's everything.
We're making fun of you, man.
I know. That's all right.
That's okay.
I can take it.
It's like I told Danny, I said, we put our time in. We know what it's all about. So, but yeah, nice bird. Got a couple comments here. Dominic said, good looking Tom. And I guess another buddy of yours here, Dan Newmer. Maybe it's just a viewer of the show. Dan says, nice bird as well.
Dominic's a real old friend of mine.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, when did you decide to go into a ghillie suit? When did you buy it?
Well, it was doing all your research and years of experience. I know that in the morning you got to be patient, and a lot of times that maybe heard you calling are going to come back around and come in at like 9:30, sometimes even 10 o'clock. So I knew I had to sit it out till 10 o'clock. In my mind, I was like, all right, let's sit till 11, and then we'll go get the ghillie suit. But I just got a little antsy, and about 10:30, I knew, it would have been one thing if I had some good action and there were birds all in the field and things were happening, but it was a pretty dead morning. I mean, I had heard a bunch of gobbling, most gobbling I've ever heard in my turkey hunting career. But then I just had that one encounter with the bird that had the hen, and it was just a really slow morning. And what I've learned in the past, 7, 8 years I've been turkey hunting is, at least for me, sometimes you got to just go out there and make it happen. You got to get aggressive, and you got to just make it happen. So at about 10:30, I'm like, and I had seen them times going into that woodlot, so I knew they were in there, or at least somewhere around in there, and I just went for it.
Cool.
Yeah.
That morning, did you hear a lot of gobbling off the roost, or were they tight?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so they were active.
No. They were. I mean, it sounded like there was 20 of them over there. I mean, it was insane. I never heard anything like it, and it was great. It was so predictable because it had been cold and snowy. We had like a skiff of snow the day before, and it was like the first bright, sunny, warmish morning. And I knew they would be fired up, and I don't know what it is about that does that, but it seems like every time. But I mean, it was just a lot of gobbles. I was pumped.
Okay, so there's snow on the ground, so that could have been a week and a half ago. It's 85 degrees right now. But
right.
Actually, what was the date when you killed this bird?
April 18th. Whatever opening day was. Yeah.
Okay, opening day. So it was right there, right off the get-go.
Yeah, first 3 or 4 hours of the season. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, man. Wow, that was over quick for you.
Yeah.
So I couldn't remember, but while you're doing that, Danny and I are chomping at the bit trying to figure out if we're even going to be able to go hunting.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I had plans to kind of guide for some buddies who had never, turkey hunted before, and obviously that was out the window with the social distancing, and so everything was up in the air.
Well, that's kind of where Danny and I were. We kept waiting to see what was going to happen,
Yeah.
Didn't really know if we're going to be able to pull it off. Didn't know if they were going to shut the season down because of all the COVID junk that's going on.
Yep.
And I don't know, Danny, when did we finally decide? Was it a week or 2 weeks before? We just said week before we're going to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was,
hey, Ken, I got a question for you from my brother. He's asking, what do you think of using the ghillie suit for deer hunting?
I tell you what, I've used the ghillie suit for deer hunting. a couple times, and I've actually had a couple does. You know, I had got some last-minute permission to hunt a little area. This was 2 or 3 years ago. I didn't want to go in there and set up a ground blind. There was no trees. It was just a brush island in the middle of a swamp. That's all I could hunt. And I had literally ran out, bought that ghillie suit the day before, went out the very next day with it, and I had 2 does, probably an hour apart, come within 10 yards of me before they, I had a good wind in my favor, so they didn't smell me, but they got within 10 yards of me. One, I think, was probably about 5 yards before they even really noticed me. But they pick you out eventually. But, them does got real close. I mean, that's an effective tool. I know the guys from the hunting public use it all the time out west. And so that's kind of what clued me in, like, hey, give it a shot. The thing was only $70. It's not the most well-made one, but, so far, I mean, it's worked great for me.
Well, that was going to be my next question, was the cost. So you got that. Where did you purchase that? Did you have to go far to get it, or was it a big box store? Or?
No, yeah, big box store, or Dick's Sporting Goods, just right here in Green Oak, just 10 minutes up the road. And I'd called ahead and see if they had one, and they had one for fat guys. They had an extra, a 2XL. I mean, it was like it was meant to be. And I bought it. And I really like it. And I plan to do more of that, especially this year. I'm going to be using a crossbow a little bit. And I've got plans for that crossbow and that ghillie suit on public land this year. I'm excited about.
Is this like a 2-piece suit, like pants and a jacket?
Yeah, it's pants, jacket, and then the headpiece. And the headpiece has like a screen, a drop-down screen. I mean, it's a very poor quality ghillie suit. There's much nicer ones out there, but, that I'm looking at right now, actually. But yeah, it's a 3-piece thing, and it's hard to walk through. It is. The only downside is you're walking through any kind of brushy stuff. You're constantly getting hung up. There's sticks that get stuck to you. But I like it. I like that style of hunting.
That was going to be the next question is, okay, so you army crawled, and you had this on. So how long did it take you to pick all the debris out of this thing?
Oh yeah, there's still debris in it. I don't think
That just adds to it, right?
When I had put it on, there was debris in it from the the last time I used it.
Oh,
excuse me.
That's good.
Just so you know, Mike, Dan Newmer is he's a listener of the show.
Okay.
He's also on the BTH staff.
Oh, gotcha.
From last week.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
It's good to put names and faces together. Good deal.
Exactly.
And a big shout out right now, Tim Cius from Lim Walker Game Calls is watching, and that's what we use here at Up North Journal is Lim Walker. And I wish I could say, Tim, that Danny and I used your calls and killed 2 toms, but it didn't happen. It just didn't happen this year, man. So far, anyway. I still got another weekend.
Yep.
But well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you got a bird.
Absolutely.
You got a nice bird, and you did it in a different way.
Yep.
So are you? So did you cook them up yet, or are you mounting the tail? What are you doing with what are you doing with your bird?
Yeah, I saved the beard. I mean, I've got several turkey fans mounted already out here in my shed. I mean, I have the fan still. It wasn't really a trophy bird in my opinion. Everyone's different. That wasn't a trophy. I've shot a lot bigger ones than him, but I'll keep the fan tail until it starts to deteriorate a little bit. I didn't preserve it or anything. I kept the beard. I always keep the spurs and the beard, don't matter what. But I actually, I always, whenever I kill a bird, I always turn it into turkey jerky. So I brought it into a place that I like, and they're hopefully I should be getting a call this week sometime to get it back. So I turned it into jerky.
There you go. Did you happen to keep the turkey jewels? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
Say that again?
The turkey jewels.
No.
It's not what you think.
Didn't.
It's not what you
know.
think. Do you know what they are?
I've heard of this before. No, I don't, but I've heard that, and I didn't.
Okay, so when a bird is out feeding, they pick up stones, small stones, and they keep them in their craw or their goat or
Yep. I know what that is.
in the gizzard and
the crop.
The crop. There you go. That's what I was looking for. The crop.
Yep.
And it helps grind their food. Okay.
Oh.
And as that happens, those are in there. over the time, they get really smooth, and it's like a polished stone. And a lot of old timers, when they cut the bird open, they'll keep the bigger ones of them. Yeah, and they put them in a little jar, and they got all these little polished stones. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to start doing that. That's cool.
Something else to look for. So.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What about the wing bones? Going to do any wing bone calls?
No. I used to save the wings, and I'd put feathers all over the place, and because they're such a beautiful animal.
Yeah, they
are.
But
I didn't keep any of the wing this year. I always say I'm going to because to like mimic fly down.
Right.
One of these years, I want to do that. Preserve a wing for that.
Gotcha. Yeah, Tennessee says gizzard stones. That's what they call them down in West Virginia.
Gizzard stones.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's good stuff. But yeah, it's at least one of the guys here on the team got a bird. But no, Danny and I, it wasn't from a lack of trying. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Once Danny and I decided we were going to go, the first problem was getting a license. There was a lot of stores in the area where, due to COVID, they weren't even manning their sporting goods department cash register, so nobody could run the DNR register. When I found somebody, they told me that it was broke, and then lo and behold, Danny the next day got his at the same place. I won't say what store it was, but
yeah, I'm just thankfully the local hardware store around here does it.
Yeah. I think Danny just jumped behind the cash register there and just did it himself is what I think happened.
I was about ready to.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to sell it to me.
He wasn't going to?
Well, no, he was fine. But I was like, but listening to your story, I was going to be like, well, find somebody in this store that knows how to run this machine.
Right. So, but I eventually got mine. But yeah, we made our way up north, and we spent 4 days. We hunted 4 days, and we couldn't seal the deal. But it wasn't from a lack of trying, you know. Danny and I spent a lot of time. Danny, go ahead, man. You've been awful quiet. I'm going to let you start telling, and I'll just interject when you're lying.
Well, the first thing we did was we got up there on Wednesday night. We left here. We were on the road by 8 o'clock. Up there by 10:30. We got there. It was probably it was still kind of cold. It was one of the coldest night we were there. It
was cold.
Got warmer.
It was
there.
Cold.
You know, but we were able to get up the next morning. And you kind of had a plan where we were kind of going to start and kind of work around the property. But one of the things that I noticed was the quietness. No birds were talking. No nothing. It
all
was
4 days.
Yeah, exactly. It ended up being all 4 days exactly. And you're like, well, come on now. You can talk a little bit so we have an idea of where to go here.
Mm-hmm.
Because truthfully, we didn't know. And you said, hey, let's go over here. And I said, okay, we'll go to the first blind. And yep, we needed our coffee, that's for sure. I see the picture there finally coming through. But
it was cold, man.
It was. That's why we needed the coffee. It was like, so we got in the hunting shack.
Turn the heater on.
And the heater was on. And it wasn't but 40 minutes later, you heard them out your backside window, that I was facing, and there was 5 birds there.
Well, okay. So Danny and I are trying to social distance, and we're in a big box blind, raised platform box blind. Had some stairs up to it. We're off the ground just a little bit, and I like, okay, you look over these 2 windows here over my shoulder, and I'm gonna look over your shoulder out of those 2 windows, and that way we can kind of cover 360. I think he fell asleep because I got the windows open. I'm kind of leaned back, and I hear something like it's walking, scratching, and I'm like, man, that sounds like birds. And and I kind of lean back over, look behind me, and crane my neck like one of these deals here, and all of a sudden, I look down and I was like, dude, there's birds like right there. And he's like, where? I'm like, right there. He gets up and looks, and like looking straight down. They're like right under the blind, walking by the blind. So yeah, they snuck in on us quiet. But you're right, Danny. They were all those days. They were quiet.
They were all quiet and everything, and it would have been nice. I mean, because the mornings were perfect. The moon was out. It was bluebird sky. It was like you would think you'd hear a gobble. Finally, it was Saturday morning, I think, when we were out in the blind, that we finally heard one start to talk.
Yeah.
And he was gobbling, and we're like, oh, he's way over there.
Yeah,
you knew exactly where he was.
Thursday was silent. Friday was silent. and we heard our first gobble on Saturday morning. And it was late in the morning too. It wasn't right off the bat either. It was probably 2 hours into the hunt. He was already on the ground when we heard those gobbles.
Right, exactly. But kind of the overall plan was to hunt from kind of south to north of the property and kind of move along during the day to find out, because we didn't know where these birds were going to be.
Right.
Friday, which was kind of one of the nicer days and kind of a warmer day, evening we did manage to catch a hen and a tom in a field, but the tom didn't have no beard.
Yeah.
And
I tell you what, hang on to that thought. Let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll pick it up there. Okay? We'll run up here on a break. So we're going to step outside. We'll continue the story right after this.
Be back in a minute.
Tim's going to disappear for a minute.
Way to go, Tom Gensel. He turkey hunted with his buddy, put 2 pop-ups, called for him. He got his bird. They changed it up and was hunting yotes while hunting for mine. Opening morning, a yote did come into the deeks, and he was successful with a nice tom. So they ended up, that's good.
Good deal. I've heard that a lot this year. The guys, what they would do, because of social distancing, if they wanted to hunt with their buddy, they put 2 pop-up blinds up. One would call, and the other one would shoot. And then they'd, just like what Tom said, they'd switch out.
Right.
Great way to do it.
You're right. And it's not uncommon for a yote to come into a decoy. And our buddy Tim over there, Andrews over at Rush Outdoors, had those eagles come into his decoys.
Absolutely.
So that was pretty cool.
All right. Big Ken is back.
I'm back.
All right. Hang on 1 second here, and we'll get going with the third segment. Stand by in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back, third segment, talking about our turkey season wrap-up, And, Danny, before we get into that Friday, I wanted to step back just a little bit. And everybody's probably thinking, well, you saw 5 birds. Why didn't you shoot? Because 3 of them, there was 2 hens and 3 jakes. So we just let them go. I mean, really, you and I could have tagged out. Because that was your goal. You said, I want to be tagged out within the first hour. That way we can sit back and fish the next 3 days.
It almost came true.
It almost did, because if we just shot jakes, but at our place we don't shoot jakes. So
right, exactly. So when you're at a club or on private land, there's rules to follow, and that's one of them. So it's no big deal.
Right.
But after that, it started progressively getting warmer.
Well,
and then
I want to step after that morning hunt. I got to give you some credit here, because we had some great breakfast. Danny is an excellent cook. I gotta say this, that he took care of me at camp. All 4 mornings we had breakfast.
That's a beauty.
I mean, you look at the size of that omelet, and that's after I dived into it. That thing was, how many eggs did you use per omelet?
We had 3 egg omelets, and it dwindled when we started running out of eggs. So the omelets were 3s.
I'm telling you what, after eating...
Is that the venison sausage one?
Yeah, that was the first morning one, yeah.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So that was venison sausage that I homemade, using a local mix here by the butcher company for breakfast sausage. And I just made... I got to take care of my host, Mike, here, so I made him a great breakfast, nice omelet, and the next morning was a ham and cheese omelet.
I'm telling you, Ken, you missed it, man.
I know. I was just thinking, man, these guys do camp like I like to do camp.
I had the Hunter's Blend going. I made the coffee. He did the breakfast, and
that's one of the great things about camp. For me, having good food is always part of it.
It is. It makes it. It really does. And I had to waddle to the north end of the property after that. But where we were hunting, Danny, what were we? Probably 400 yards away from camp. That first set.
Oh, the first set, yeah, we were right there by camp. It was probably a 400 yard out to that blind which ended up being the hot field of the property.
Really did. And then Danny mentioned that we eat breakfast and then we took off and we hunted our way to the north end of the property, which from where we were at was probably a good mile and a quarter walk.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. Did you guys do like run and gun stuff middle of the day where you're out, snooping around?
Yeah, that morning we sat in that blind, and then after that we sat out and run and gunned up until the very last set of the day, which was another box blind. It was on a pinch point between two fields, and we were watching the two field edges. But like Danny said, we had a tom come in with a hen, and he's like, those two hens. And I'm like, no. I said, I think that's a tom, and it had the head coloring, but there was no beard. And I said, remember, our camp manager told us that there was two toms in that area that had beard rot, and it's mineral deficiency in their diet. And I forget I think he said was it melanin?
Melanin or something like that. It's like melatonin, but it's not.
So they didn't have this in their diet, and the beard rots and falls off. And I said, I bet you that's one of those beardless toms that they got up here on the north end of the property, because the bird was huge and it was real dark, had the big red head, and it chased that hen all over the place, and she wasn't letting them have none. So
no, that was the first night, and so we kind of started. That was our game plan, was to hunt south to north. And then when we went out Friday morning, it was pretty quiet, and we ended up heading north. That's when we caught that hen in the field that came into the decoy that we were using. Mm-hmm. And she was pretty ticked off at the decoy. She was not happy about it. And we had, I think there was 5 deer behind us in that field, small field. Mm-hmm. And then they were heading towards us. So when they got just to the point, they picked up the decoy. And she had already come down past the decoy to them and walked into where they were feeding. So she wasn't happy with the decoy. Didn't pay attention to her.
No, she was not happy at all. Actually, I'm trying to find it. I got that video here. I think I can probably find that real quick here.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's like, but up until right now, Friday afternoon. Actually, Friday was when we saw the tom, but still no gobbling, no nothing. It was dead silence for 2 days, and the weather wasn't bad. It was nice, so we were hoping. And so what we did in the evenings is we turned around. We kind of let the field play out, and then we started heading back because it was about a mile and a quarter walk. Mm-hmm. And what we were trying to do is listening to see if they were roosting, where we could find where they were roosting. Didn't hear a thing. So by the time we got back, it was like, okay, start the game plan over again tomorrow. So that's what we did until Saturday morning when we started hearing the gobbles. It was like, okay, now we have something to mess with.
Okay, so, I got the video, the second part of the video, right when she got up to the decoy here, and she walked up. Or no, I take it back. This is the walk-in. You can see it on the edge of the field. I don't know if I can turn this up while we're talking. We can't hear it, but maybe our listeners can hear.
But you can hear her coming in, and it's one of those things that she was not happy about that decoy.
No,
decoy did its job.
It didn't. She was concerned about it, but she wasn't like overly concerned. And once she started getting closer, she just started yup, like she was ticked off, and kept coming closer and closer and closer. And finally, she kind of stood there and looked at it, and then walked by it. I really thought the decoy was going to spook her out of there. But and Ken, what I was hoping is once she started yelping at it, I'm like, this is perfect. Get her mad, get her vocal, and call a tom in. That was my hope.
What I like to do in those situations is that I try to mimic whatever her call is, and that really gets them mad. You start mimicking them like that. I've noticed, I've done that a handful of times, where I'll try to do the exact same call she's doing, and that really gets them fired up, and then they hang around a little bit longer.
And Tim Sia says he's never seen a porcupine, and that was I got the porcupine video because I popped that up by mistake first here, so we'll wait. Now I'll show that here in just a minute. But go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, and so you're right, Ken. One thing you can mess with a hen, and it's kind of fun to do, is you start or you don't mimic her, you cut her off, and she gets mad about it. And Mike and I have both done this, and he taught me how to do this. He did it with my first bird, matter of fact. But you get them nice and mad, you would think, well, what we were hoping was, with all that talk, and a tom would show up. But not going to happen.
Nope, not this day. It didn't. For whatever reason, she was just a lone hen out there by herself, and she came strutting on through there, and that was kind of the end of it. But I'm trying to see. This might be the yep. That's the end of the video there. So we'll cut back to us here. But you know, that's hunting, man. We hunted hard 3 of those days, just like this, and we did the same thing in the morning. Started at the south end, come back, have breakfast, and we didn't hunt the second morning, Danny. I think if I remember right, wasn't it raining Friday morning?
Maybe that's what it was. I know there was one morning we woke up and there was a big green blob above us on the radar.
Yeah, and we stayed in until about we got about 10 o'clock, had breakfast, and we were out the door about 11. But we were back on the field probably by, I would say, 11, 12 o'clock every day, and we hunted till 8 o'clock at night, you know, until the last shooting light, you know, which was like 8:15, 8:20. It kept progressing through the days, but for the most part, I mean, we were hunting from daylight to dark, and the birds just were not vocal, you know, and that's why when that hen come through and being so vocal, I'm like, man, we finally got a bird to talk. And,
I know, right?
You know, it's like, keep her talking, man. Let her go. I hope she stands there and just keeps going, but. Yeah, just
now, did you guys ever consider, I mean, have you ever hunted the public up there? Like run around?
No, we've had birds around us, and we, you know, kind of figured them out and knew what was going to happen, and we just stayed put. So,
did you know where they were roosted? Did you ever figure that out?
No, and that was the thing. No. Is the evening
the Saturday morning, we got the report from the manager that he saw the tom in the field. And he could hear them gobbling. Sunday morning, as we heard them, where they were kind of roosting, it was kind of getting a general consensus idea of, okay, they're to the east.
Mm-hmm. So that was the last morning when we set up. But that Saturday morning, that third morning when we got up, we kind of knew, like I said, we're trying to pattern. It's hard to pattern birds when they're not talking.
Yeah,
and you don't, you know, we seen them on the south end and we seen them on the far north end. So it's like that was really the only 2 places we saw birds. And normally, right in the middle, in between, is where years past I've always seen birds, and there's a high transition area. Matter of fact, we saw where they were dusting, you know, right in the middle.
Yeah.
And we set up in the middle of the day and tried to cut them off. And be there when they would come into dust, and there was obviously no fresh tracks. They weren't going through there when we were there. Don't know if it was because of a big weather change, because it was cold and all of a sudden it warmed up real quick. We just don't know. Don't know.
Yeah.
There was no coyote tracks in the area to speak of. We didn't see a fresh coyote track until the last morning. Or maybe it was the last evening that we hunted. I think that was Saturday evening. But and we did a lot of walking in a lot of different places, and there was just no activity.
Wasn't happening.
No, they were at the north and they were at the south.
It was,
you know, separated by about 1.5 miles between the two flocks.
You guys going to try to get back out this weekend?
I'm heading back up. I think Friday after I get out of work. I'm taking my grandson. Shotgun's going with me. My plan is hopefully he will feel like getting up and setting in a box blind, because I'm not going to pack camo and all kinds of stuff. It's supposed to be extremely warm. I just want to get him up in a blind and be able to see some game, but I don't know if I can get him up early or not. If he gets up early, we'll go set, and if not, I'll do an evening hunt and, you know, just hope for the best. I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on myself to try to seal the deal at that point. So
no, for sure.
But you know. I tell you what, we're kind of close to a break here. Why don't we take a break and we'll save the rest of our time, and we'll come back and we'll finish up, because I want to call this video back up because Tim Cius mentioned about the porcupine.
And then I can tell you about my up north experience.
There you go. All right, we're going to step outside. We'll take our last break. We'll be right back after this.
See, talking turkey, time's flying, people. If you got any questions, my brother says I make a good, a mean Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwich. Yeah, well,
it's not like Danny DeFaul breakfast omelet. I tell you that.
That's right.
That was some good stuff, man. I tell you what, we eat like kings.
So according to Tim Cius, he says low barometric pressure has them lockjawed.
Okay. Well, we were on cold mornings, but it did warm up. That would have been high pressure coming in.
Right.
But we didn't hear him talk until that last the last morning and second to last morning.
Yep.
So, all right, we got that saved off there. Hang on one second, because I do want to call something up here real quick if I can, and share with you guys.
Oh, no problem.
Take me just a second here. Alrighty. Here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, and 1. Last segment of the show. I want to bounce back to what Tim Cias had said. I got
the Mr. Porcupine video.
Yeah, just for Tim. Here's the porcupine, and he's just kind of walking through. Opa-dope. He's looping through,
right
man.
Down the middle of the field in broad daylight.
He did. Yep. And I tried to get you to wrestle him, but you didn't want anything to do with it.
No, I was not wrestling a porcupine.
Actually, I better turn the audio down on that. You and I were arguing a little bit there at that point.
Probably.
I tried to get him to stick his hand in a badger hole. He didn't want to do that. He wouldn't wrestle a porcupine. And then we contemplated on who was actually going to climb in the bear den that we found.
Oh boy.
But yeah, Danny was having none of it. He wouldn't have any of it. And you know, the bear den, I really wasn't going to let him go in because then I'd have to rescue him. And at that point, I'd be involved, and I didn't want to get involved in that either. So,
right, exactly.
But I will show something here if I can find it real quick of something that we did find very interesting. Oh, there it is, right there. Speaking of bear, we walked in this little tiny food plot, and there was 5 nice piles, and you can see the size of my boot. That's a big rubber boot. And it dwarfs my boot. And there was 5 of those. Nice little bear piles. And I just lost Danny along the way. Danny, hit your camera real quick. I think we lost Danny completely, if I'm not mistaken here. But when you're walking through a field and you see something like this, it gets your attention real quick.
Oh, yeah.
And it raised the hair in the back of our necks. I'll tell you what here. Hang on one second, folks. I'm going to put a pause on our audio portion. I got to get Danny called back up here. So, I don't know what happened to him here. But he is gone.
Danny.
No, he's gone. My connection dropped. And I'm trying to get it to call back up. Sorry about this, guys. That's the wonderful world of technology as you know it, you know. Especially
I kind of second what Mike was saying there about finding bear sign. I'll never forget the first time I found seen bear tracks in the UP. It was the first year I was did gun season in the UP up there, and I got a really eerie feeling when I seen them bear tracks, and it does make the hair stand up on the back of your neck. And so that's always something that's in the back of my mind whenever I'm up north at all.
Well, absolutely. You know, especially when you're trying to. Well, Danny's going to be gone. I can tell you that because my computer decided to do an update. It just shut down and started to do an update. So Danny.
Oh boy.
Danny, as you're sitting out there. And I don't have my other computer screen set up for me and you back and forth. So I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to double bounce this back and forth here. But we get the record going again here. So, but back to the bear stuff, man. It definitely raised the hair on the back of my neck. As far as you know, you got people with you. You're walking through the woods, and you know you're concerned for yourself, but you're also concerned for the people that are with you.
Yeah.
And we do have some big bear, you know, around the area. So.
You gonna bear hunt this year?
No, we're gonna pass just because of what's
the point.
Well, just because of what's going on with COVID right now. We don't know what's going to happen with our licensing system here. We don't, you know, if there's a second wave of this, it could possibly come back. You know, and if it does, are they going to shut hunting seasons down? I mean, I don't even want to think about it.
Right, especially deer season. You know, that's what has been on my mind.
So, you know, I don't want to say yes and put my points in, burn my points. I mean, I've got 14, so I mean, I've been waiting for 14 years. So we're just going to wait and ride this thing out, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, probably a good call.
You know, but that's where we're at with that.
Good call. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I don't see Danny chiming back in. And Tim CS asks, are the bears in our area aggressive? No, not normally. But I don't ever want to come between a bear, a sow, and her cubs. And that's what
I always worry about.
Well, you know, you being up where you hunt in the UP, I think you got to deal with that quite a bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I mean, I'll admit it. There have been several times when I'm up in the UP, especially like when I've been checking out some 2 or 3 year old clear cuts where it's getting kind of brushy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's maybe June or July I've been up there, you know, doing a little deer scouting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, you know, what if? You know, what if? It's one thing in the fall when you're baiting them and they're more, you know, you got them on a pattern, they're coming in to the bait at dark. But it's like you're stumbling around in a 3 year old clear cut in the middle of the Upper Peninsula. I mean, who knows? I mean, you never know, you know. And I've actually like got so weirded out by it, I've turned around and just left, you know, because I've psyched myself up so bad about, man, what if I get, you know, come across a bear here, you know?
Right, absolutely.
You know, it's dangerous up there.
All right, well, you are now in UNJ Cabin South. I actually made the switch
Okay.
over, so you're.
All right.
We're just going to double box this the rest of the way because Danny, if you're listening, which I know you are, my Skype computer is on a massive reboot, and all of a sudden it's forced an update and crashed the system. So, with that being said, we're just going to have to ride this out just between the two of us here. But getting back to the turkey hunting, yeah. After we saw the bear scat, you know, it gets your dander up a little bit, but you know we still did our thing and made our way along. A couple of things I want to kind of cover here as we go finish up here. I want to show a couple other pictures that we had. Something that we used quite a bit here was our easy cut pruners. This is a ground set that we did, and we did this several times. We would just get up next to some small trees or some brush, and we'd start pruning around, and we'd build stuff up in front of us for a set. And you can see the decoy out in front of the pruners there. But I tell you what, if you guys don't have a set of these things, you know, you really need to get one of these in your hand and make sure you got them when you're turkey hunting, as well as even during deer season. I mean, they slip right in your pack and lightweight, and it's just something that we run with. And we wouldn't be where we were out in the field without our limb walker game calls as well. So showing a picture of those there, we make sure we run with their pot calls out in the field quite extensively. So I want to say a big thank you to Tim Cias, who's actually sitting watching the show tonight. And a couple of our sets here. Here's Danny sitting up against a tree. He's sitting behind some brush, and me hanging out there with him. And, you know, just chilling out in the woods. You know, and that's one thing is you had alluded to. You know, it's not always about the kill. Just getting out, having fun, having breakfast, the camaraderie of camp, all those types of things that
who you're with is just as important, you know.
Absolutely. You know, and that's all part of it. And one of these days you'll be rocking along with the little man. But here's a picture I wanted to show real quick. And if you guys remember, I bought my early season scentlock suit last year, and I got the Bottomlands camo pattern. And if you look at this pattern up against this tree here, that it really, to me, I think it does a nice job blending in. It really matches the pattern of some of the trees that we have up there in the deep woods up north. And that was one of the reasons I got that suit. Is for
my favorite season pattern.
Yeah, bow, you know, for bow season. And here's a quick little pic from the evening. One evening, just a great sky, looking across the lake, and then one of our sunrises. So, and then I don't know if you saw this, Ken. I think you probably did. We put this up on our Facebook page of this little squirrel I took a picture of, and I was asking people.
Oh, the ground squirrel?
Yeah, if they knew what it was. But that's a 13-striped ground squirrel. One of the few mammals here in Michigan that truly hibernate. Yeah. So, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that that squirrel in particular hibernated, which I thought was kind of cool. But you'd think a bear would, you know. But bears don't truly hibernate all winter long. So. Yeah. Which I didn't know. So.
Yeah, no, I actually learned something from that post. I didn't even know anything about a ground squirrel or anything. It just looked like a chipmunk to me, you know.
Well, a lot of people said that.
Seen it.
Yeah, they thought that was chipmunk, and I'm like, no, it's not chipmunk. But we've got them up there at our place, and they really don't cause any problems. Now, chipmunk, on the other hand, will. They'll cause a lot of trouble. So, but no, we had a great 4 days up there, like Danny said. That last morning, we got up there, and we were sitting in a pop-up blind off the edge of a field, and it got to be about 8:30 in the morning, and we were going to hunt till 9, pack up, come home, because we had to go do the show that night and get back from camp. And it's 8:30 in the morning, and all of a sudden, we're both just sitting, in the pop-up blind, just kind of chit-chatting a little bit, real quietly, and all of a sudden, about 125 yards straight out in front of us, we hear this gobble, just thunder. I mean, it just rattled the patch of woods in front of us. And my eyes got big and his got big, we're like, oh, okay, it's game on. Yeah.
Yep, at that point.
So, I called, he responded, waited, give another soft call, he responded, waited a little more, called one more time, and when he responded, he was further away from us. And I looked at him and go, running gun? He's like, yeah, absolutely. So we got out and we started chasing. Yeah, we got it. We started chasing, and we got to the edge of a clearing where we thought he was at, and didn't see anything. Started looking hard. We saw a couple of hens making their way through some tall grass, and as I'm scanning, I can see way down a lane, and I thought I saw some movement, so we scooted down the lane, got a better viewpoint, saw another hen, and then as I looked to the left, out into the edge of the field, there he was, about 400 yards away. And that's about the way our hunt ended right there. It's like, well, we can make a push, but there's no way we're going to close the distance. He's chasing a hen. He's henned up, and we just called it and packed up and headed home. So that was the end of it. But we'll see what happens, and maybe we can get back out this weekend. Hope for the best.
Absolutely.
Well, doggone, guys, I'm really sorry that we lost Danny. My computer is still rebooting, so, if we had an opportunity, I'd like to hear how his weekend went up in the UP this weekend. But we'll see if we can get him back on here in just a moment, but I think it's going to take a while. It's doing its thing. We got just a few minutes left here. What about your weekend? You said that you're going to do some fishing, but your plans kind of changed, and you had to make a road trip?
Yeah, quick road trip today, but we're going to go over to my dad lives on a little private lake, and just going to go catch some bluegill for the garden and the table, of course. We'll catch some bluegill and fillet them up, have a little fish fry, and then the carcasses will go in the garden. Put a bluegill carcass in each hole for the tomato plants, and that really helps them. And, it's kind of weird this year. This would have been opening weekend of bass tournament season, and of course there's no tournaments, and that's it's going to be weird this summer. The bass tournaments have been canceled indefinitely, and I kind of believe that there might not be any bass tournaments this summer if things keep going. Maybe not till August. A lot of my friends are hopeful that, oh no, they'll be back by June, but for sure no tournaments until after June 12th at this point. So there's no tournaments as of right now, so I'm going to do some fishing, just fun fishing locally here. I'm going to come up to there and do a trip around you guys probably next weekend. Okay. And no tournaments right now, so I won't be doing any Up North Journal check-ins and blast off, but we're still going to get the fishing in this summer and do some more deer scouting, and plenty more
good stuff
lots of summer
up.
Left.
Yeah. Yep. Well, actually, this weekend, I was kind of chilling out here at home. This would have been, today's Sunday, this would have been Friday night. And, with everything going on with COVID, they've canceled, like you said, they canceled your tournaments. Well, the one thing that they started canceling was the Total Archery Challenge shoots, the TAC shoots, all across the nation. Well, there's been a few of them that have been revived and extended. They've realigned the dates, and lo and behold, Michigan's was
really?
Yeah, they actually resurrected it, and it's going to be the last weekend in August. And I got put on a waiting list and got sent an email, and it's like, there's only this many slots left. If you want one of them, you have to sign up now. So I went ahead and signed up and got Danny and I our slots. So it looks like we're going to be shooting on Friday and Saturday, August 28th and 29th. Up at Boyne. We actually got in. I mean, it was a miracle that we got in at all. So, as long as everything stays the way it's going to, we're going to go shoot TAC this year. So for those of you guys that are going to be there, hopefully we'll get to see you. That's the plan anyway. So we'll be up that way.
I'm glad to see that they brought that back, and didn't just say, oh, it's done, kept the options open.
Well, I think what had happened is they lost so many events. They could only choose a select few. I think there was 5 events that they were going to hold out of, I don't know how many that they have. I think it's 10, 12, something like that. So they held the most popular. In Michigan, I tell you what, guys, for you guys here in Michigan, you archers need to be proud, because I tell you, that event sold out in hours. When that thing went live on the first round, and we found out, we tried to get our passes, and it sold out quickly. Matter of fact, the Michigan bow hunters or archers crashed the website. They hit it so hard. So you guys can be proud that we got a great bunch of archers here in Michigan that love to shoot, and I look forward to being part of it again this year. You got to go with us, man. Next year we got to plan this and get you in on this.
Yeah, that's always it. I've been kind of following that event the past couple of years, and I kind of like how it's not fitness related, but it kind of mixes in that fitness aspect to archery.
Absolutely.
And I kind of like that.
It will kick your butt. I mean, if you're not ready for it. And Danny and I found out the hard way that it taxed us. So, but we shot 1 day last year, and we're going to shoot 2 this year. And actually, I want to give a big shout out. PSE is sponsoring one of the courses this year at TAC in Michigan. Nice. So we're going to shoot the PSE course, and I think the other one that we're shooting is the Sitka course, if I'm not mistaken. So those are the 2 that we're gonna hit up. So looking forward to it.
Good. Yeah.
We're bumping up here towards the end of the show. What else going on with you? Got any other big plans for the summer other than?
I just having those tournaments canceled. That really. I mean, I'm still gonna fish. I'm gonna. No real big plans. If a UP, I'm gonna. Right now, I'm aiming to go up to deer camp to do a little scouting for deer season. Last weekend of September. Now, obviously, that's way far away. End of summer. So but if a UP trip were to materialize sometime in the summer, I'll make it happen. But no real big plans. I'm just, this year I'm still into the fishing, but I've really kind of dedicated myself to whitetail season this year. I mean, and I have been in full-blown whitetail mode, and I'm just trying to do as much public land scouting as I can. And focused on that lease, this new lease I got. I got a little bit of a trespassing problem over there I got to deal with. So I've kind of got my hands full with deer hunting stuff, I think, all summer. So that's about it for me. I mean, like I said, if a UP trip materializes, I'm definitely going to do it. But other than that, just, all in on deer season.
That's a good problem to have. Getting ready for deer season. I'm hoping to get down to the lease in Indiana, too. That's my big thing right now is just trying to find some time to get down one time before season at least, and check it out.
Yeah, and I need to pick your brain a little bit, too. I might need to see what we can do, because the lease I'm on, the lady that owns it has some... I don't know what, for whatever reason, she's not going to have it farmed this year. And I was expecting it to be corn.
Okay.
But she told me I can grow a food plot. So I am kind of anxiously trying to think of what I can do with a food plot on the back edge of this field.
Okay.
So I'm kind of excited about that. I'm going to get to be able to do as big a food plot as I can afford, really, I can do this year.
Okay. So, well, I'll tell you this. You better plan for planning sometime. Probably to start that process in August, getting it measured out, figuring out what you need. I'd pull a soil sample just to be safe. It's always good to do that. And then I don't know if you're going to do like a mow throw and grow, or I don't know.
No, I don't want to do throw and grow. I mean, I've tinkered around with food plots in the past with brassicas, and I mean, because I'm already thinking like, all right, now I could plant maybe some Egyptian wheat or some kind of screen to help my access. I'm really conscious on my access and exit. I'm thinking probably brassica, some kind of cereal grain and brassicas. That's probably what I'm going to do, and I'm just trying to figure out what the layout's going to be, how I'm going to access it. It's a good problem to have. I mean,
absolutely.
It's an incredible. This trespassing situation is stressing me out, though. I'm a little worried about. This guy is very blatant. He does not seem to care what he's doing, and so I'm going to have my hands full with that. So it's like I don't know what to expect. Don't know what to do.
Gotcha. Well, I want to give a quick shout out. Terry DeFaw, Danny's brother, he just mentioned that he got the bow mitt that he ordered and got a personal note from Randy in there. And you know what? That says a lot about a company owner who puts personal notes in with the gear he sends out. So that's awesome. I want to give him a quick shout out. And that's the guys from Better the Hunt that we talked to last week, Randy Stoppenhagen. So, but getting back to your Egyptian grass and stuff, if you're going to do some screening like that, you need to start thinking about getting that planted here pretty early and figure out what your access points are going to be. Give it time to grow.
Yeah. I know, and I know, and I just found all this out like a week ago that he wasn't going to grow it. So I'm kind of been scrambling. I was talking to a buddy the other night. I mean, if I don't get it in, that's fine. I'll just access it the way I was planning on, because it's going to be, I don't know. Part of me says just leave it alone and don't do anything, just hunt it how it would be in its natural state. And don't even fool around with the food plots. I feel like I might be overcomplicating it.
Yeah, especially since it's a new piece of ground. Give it a year, hunt it. That's the first season, and see where you stand.
Yeah, and, so it's tough. It's a good problem to have.
There you go. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We're bumping up here towards the end of the show. I apologize for losing Danny. Computers, man. I tell you what. We've got hammered last week. We had a connection issue out in Idaho. But he resurrected his system, got it back on the air with it. So that, but tonight we just couldn't do it. This computer's still rebooting. It's doing a long version update. So we'll just have to get that done ahead of time next time, fire these computers up. But we were running a little late today. So I tell you what, we're going to wrap up the podcast portion of the show here for you folks. Go to our social media pages, give us a like, give us a follow, go over, if you're listening to the show off of iTunes, stop into iTunes and give us a review there if you would please. That would help us out as well.
Yeah, that's huge.
It really makes a difference in getting our show brought up on the ladder there where other people can find it. And as always, feel free to share the show. We love that. So, and go over and support the people who support us, the ones we mentioned at the beginning of the show. Check them out and save yourself some money if you're so inclined to shop with the people who help us out. So that'll do it for us on the podcast, folks, this week. We'll be back again next week. We got plans to talk to a gentleman about some walleye fishing here up in Lake Michigan, somewhere up near the UP and Wisconsin. Yeah. So stay tuned for that. Y'all take care. We'll be back again next week.
You never had one.
To those of you on the podcast, if you got any questions, comments, throw them in real quick. We'll hang out here for a few minutes, and then we'll wrap up the live stream as well. And Danny hasn't said anything bad to me yet. He hasn't texted me and called me any names or anything like that. So I guess he's okay. He's probably kind of glad because he just rolled in from the UP, and we'll have to talk next week and figure out what he did in UP because I really want to hear what he got into up there as well. It's you get to this time of the year, you get these especially the first vacation out of COVID. I mean, when you can really get away. That was the big thing for Danny and I when we took off.
Yeah.
We had these, you got these wild expectations. You're going to get into birds and everything. And all of a sudden, the trip didn't become so much about the birds as it did about just spending time in the outdoors and watching the woods come alive, watching them go to sleep at night, relaxing. We were on social media a little bit, but not a lot. No TV.
Yeah.
And you decompress. And we decompressed so much that on the way home, when we got on the freeway, right as soon as we get on the freeway, there's a rest area there. And I said, pull in real quick. I need to use the facility. So I drank too much coffee that morning. So we pull in real quick, and as I start to get out of the vehicle, I look, and everybody's wearing masks. And I'm like, oh, yeah, COVID's going on. I completely,
that's going on.
4 days away, I completely forgot about it.
That's so nice.
Yeah, you didn't worry. We tried to stay, social distance as much as possible, and he's been self-quarantined at home. So I mean, I've been working, but I mean, everybody in our house as well, and we took the best precautions we could. But it comes a point in time when you just got to say, you know what, my sanity is worth a whole lot about just getting outside and spending time in the outdoors and spending time with a friend in the woods and hunting and just whatever.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna have to come out. We're gonna have to come out of hiding and face this thing eventually.
Exactly.
And,
exactly.
We're not going to be able to hide from it forever. And no. I'm not saying, hey, don't follow the rules or whatever.
Right.
But at some point, like you said, mental health is huge throughout this whole thing. I know even myself, I've struggled with it. It's so stressful, and you go on Facebook and people, it's hard, it's easy to get whipped up into a frenzy if you're on social media for any amount of time. People posting pictures of empty grocery store shelves and political this and that, and before you know it, you're all fired up, and it's just no good.
You know, for my family, I mean, I haven't said a whole lot about COVID, you know. Obviously, we're social distancing. You know, Danny's not been in the studio. He's coming back in studio, not next, I don't know if it's next week or the week after. Anyway, he's coming back in the studio soon. You know, we've all kind of run the risk evaluation in our heads and talked. And for my family, we've come to that conclusion. It's like, it's time to, now I won't say move on, but it's time to make that step forward and start, you know, taking precautions, doing things the right way, but living our lives. You know, you got to live your life. You know, that's why my son and I went to the gun range today. We got out and went to the gun range and had a great time. You know, there was another couple that was there, and, you know, we talked, but we stayed 20 feet apart. We just kind of talked back and forth, you know. And
you know, and hey, and in the state of Michigan, a gathering of 10 or less is okay now, you know. So there's that. You know. So
we're gonna move forward. And do what we need to do and get in the outdoors and enjoy it. So
absolutely,
but
man,
you know, you bought your son a slingshot. I think, I don't know if I said this on the show. I know we said this before the show, but I went and bought an air rifle today, and my grandson and I.
Oh boy,
we're gonna have a little fun.
I bet. Has he seen it yet? Does he know he has an air rifle yet?
No, he doesn't have a clue, and he probably won't find out until this weekend when we go up north. But chipmunks beware. We're gonna have some fun.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, we're going to wrap up the show here. Just want to run down here, just take another quick look, make sure that I didn't miss anything real quick. Billy Hoffman, hey, what's up, Billy?
Hey, Billy.
He's still trying to get a bird, but he has 3 happy clients, went 3 for 3 guiding. Brent Legwater was watching. Hey, Brent, if you're still on, man, long time no see. I hope everything's well with you and your family. Great guy. We used to talk back and forth off and on. Danny's brother said, Terry says, too many videos on the system. Yeah, your brother was the one that got kicked out. Sorry about that. And Tammy, thanks for the show, guys. I appreciate you watching, Tammy. Always try to bring something to you guys every week. Dustin Geiger, thanks for the comment. Good show. Billy says lots of bears out at his place in Gaylord this weekend. You know, now that the weather's warm, they're on the prowl. You know, and I heard somebody actually, with all this flooding, I got to say this before we do go. Thoughts and prayers to everybody here in the mid-Michigan area that lost their property, their possessions due to the flood, man. We had 3 dam failures in the state of Michigan this week, and it completely wiped out the lake and river systems up in the mid-Michigan area. And actually, isn't it an area you fish, and you got a place up there too?
Yeah, you know, I was gonna try to sneak up to Gladwin. We're in an area called Buttman Township, also known as Sugar Springs Property Owners Association area, just north of Gladwin. And that's right in the, right in the damage zone. Now, the dams there at my fishery did not fail, but of course everything is flooded to the max. And so I think I'm going to just kind of lay low and let those people try to recover the best they can. And I'll try to get up there maybe later in the month of June. But, with all the roads collapsing and everything, I thought, you know what, maybe just hold off on going up there for a little while.
Do you have a camp or a cabin, or is it just land up there?
It's just land. The fishing was so good up there, I just bought a lot just so I could have a key. I literally bought land just to have a key to a private lake.
There you go.
But I do. It's about a half-acre lot.
Okay.
And I own it, and I'm gonna eventually run power and hopefully get a camper and camp there. And
gotcha.
Have my own little fishing camp there. And it's surrounded by national forests, and it's great turkey hunt. I'd like to start turkey hunting there, maybe do some bow hunting there. It's so I'm hoping to turn it into something.
Yeah, well, I know those people up there are devastated. It's just unbelievable, some of the things I saw up there. Complete lakes are gone. They're drained.
Yeah, Sanford and Wixom, and those are huge bass tournament lakes, and it'll be a lot, and it couldn't have happened at a worse time. You know, a lot of those fish had probably, you know, not that it matters, but they had spawned, and it's going to be years before there was a fishery back in those lakes again. Years.
Okay, well, since we're on this subject, if you got a minute, where do those fish go? Did they actually go downstream with the water, or do they wind up laying on the lake bottom and dying? What happens?
Well, I haven't seen any pictures of fish kills, and I can't really speak on that with no real authority, but I've thought a lot about that. And I think, you know, there is still a river channel that runs through there, you know, the Tittabawassee River.
Right.
Those lakes are just dammed up Tittabawassee River. And I think that the fish that, you know, were able to make it into that river system might still be in that river system. But, I mean, I don't know how many survived, got washed away through the dam, and just totally got flushed. Because if they aren't swimming with the current, or hanging out, they just got flushed right out of there.
Right.
And it's those. There will be no. I mean, I don't know how they're going to. They might have to stock it. I don't know what they're going to do. But
yeah,
I mean those lakes are going to be void of fish.
Yeah. The other thing that really shocked me was the void of vegetation on the bottom of those lakes.
Yeah, that's from all the spraying that they do.
Okay.
And
you know, and I really wouldn't have thought of that until you mentioned that earlier in the season. We were talking with you about bass fishing, and what you look for. I'm like, there's no vegetation there.
Yeah, there's no vegetation. There was a lot of timber. That's what a lot of the guys target there is the timber, the standing timber, and the tree stumps.
Right.
But that's what you're looking for on those lakes. I mean, and that Sanford Lake was putting out some bags, man. They were putting out some big fish. I mean, those lakes were fishing great. The colleges were going there for their college competitions. I mean, those lakes were on the top of their game, and man, it was just, I mean, that's minor compared to those people losing their houses and everything. I realize that, but you know, from a selfish point of view as a fisherman, man, just devastating to the fishery.
Danny sent a message in for you all in the live stream. Yamaha and Robert Blosser, he's a tournament fisherman, walleye fisherman, that is going to be on next week. That's the one I was trying to remember who we're having on next week. But he's sponsored by Yamaha, and we're going to have him on talk a little walleye. So, but yeah, those people, man, I feel so bad for so many people. I mean, you know, here we are, we're complaining like, okay, you know, we're kind of hung up here at home, and we're trying to figure out ways to get outside and do things, but there's a lot of people, thousands of people right now in mid-Michigan area that don't have a lake to sit and enjoy anymore because it's gone.
Yeah, a lot of them are homeless too.
And homeless, you know, and lost their possessions, lost everything in their homes. And I know how that feels. You know, next Thursday will be 7 years since we lost everything in a tornado. That was the beginning of a bad year for us. But, you know, it's, yeah. So, you know, guys and gals all across the United States, across the world, wherever you're watching the show from, just remember that, you know, right now, you know, we're Memorial Day weekend here in the United States, and everybody's typically grilling, boating, having fun outside. We need to remember the reason for Memorial Day, first off, to celebrate the servicemen and women who've lost their lives and give us our freedoms to be able to do what we do.
Yep.
But secondly, quit complaining about being stuck at home so much, because there's lots of people who don't even have a home right now to be stuck in.
That's right.
So,
yeah, a little perspective.
Yep, a little perspective. So, you know, everybody be thankful for what we got, enjoy it to the fullest, and we'll see all of y'all next week. Y'all take care, and we'll be back again next week.